you that I don't know, I am Ginger Throckmorton, and I have been homeschooling for, I don't know how many years, but my oldest is a senior and is graduating this year. And then my youngest is 21 months. So I have daughters who are 12 and 14 also. So anyway, welcome tonight. And I'm just going to quickly introduce those of us who have been on the leadership team, who have been putting all of this together for Kairos Christian Classical. And then Wendy will open us in a prayer. But, or I'll just let everyone introduce themselves quickly. So you can already go here.
We have to
This is
stand
weird.
here so
We have to
they can
stand
see
in
us.
front of the computer.
So I'm Wendy Moffett. I've been homeschooling now, I guess, for 9 years. My oldest is a freshman, and then my youngest boy he'll be 12 in 2 more weeks. So we got a birthday coming. So let's pray, and then everybody else can introduce.
Oh, perfect.
Right. While I'm here. Lord, we thank you for this day. Thank you for the beautiful weather you've given us today. Thank you for this time to gather and fellowship with some we haven't seen in quite a while and some that we have. Thank you for bringing us all together tonight. I pray that you would just bless our time together. Help the leadership team to convey the vision that we have with this Kairos Christian Classical, and that it would be received to help the families as they need the needs of their family and their homeschooling. I pray that you would continue to bless each of the families here as they are working to homeschool their children and lead them in your ways. And we just pray that you bless our time. In Jesus' name, amen.
Amen. Okay, I'm Katie Bost. I have been homeschooling. My oldest is 9 now, and then my youngest River is 6, and we have homeschooled from the jump. Right from the beginning, we have homeschooled, and I have served on leadership currently and in the past with everyone up here and several of you out there. So yeah, we're glad you're here.
I'm Tori Rubinski, and I have a 12-year-old and 11-year-old, and this is our 8th year homeschooling.
I'm Shelly Stamper, and I've been homeschooling, I think this is 6 years. My oldest just turned 13, and we started with her in 2nd grade. And then I have a 10-year-old and an 8-year-old.
Wait, you go last.
Okay, hi, I'm Paula Wood. This is our 7th year homeschooling. I have a senior also who will be graduating with Ginger's daughter, and then I have another boy in 10th grade.
Hi, I'm Kelly Stout, and I have 5 children, ages 10 down to 2. And I've been homeschooling since the beginning when he went into school. And I've been with a lot of these ladies for many years, and lots of you. So nice to see you again.
Okay, fantastic. So if you just want to look at your handouts, just to start off, I'm going to briefly just read our 4 core values that we just all agreed upon from the beginning that we really wanted to keep in mind as we were trying to create what we were going to be doing. And the first one is that we have a value for partnering with parents to love, disciple, and educate their children using the classical Christian model while serving Christ humbly and faithfully. So we definitely want to still to use the classical Christian model, and we just want to come together with other families to pour into each other's kids and not just be homeschooling my own children, but to have other adults who know and love my children and pour into them. Also, we have a value for pursuing excellence in academic and extracurricular classes while also teaching and learning from rest. So we really want to have high quality classes that are pursuing academic, but that also can somehow find the balance between not overloading and trying to do too much. As homeschool moms, we just love everything and all the ideas, and it can be so easy and tempting at times to just try to do all the things and too many things. So we really would love our classes and us as a community to struggle together to find that balance, which is not always easy to find, and sometimes is different for different students because our students are all unique and they do all have different abilities. but that is definitely a value that we're going to be seeking for with our classes. The third one is creating an environment where various political, economic, worldly opinions are respected and honored by teaching the skills of Christian discussion between differing opinions. And this is true for all of our co-op. It also, is probably comes a little bit out of the nature of our upper school classes, that we are definitely wanting to be discussion based. And so as we are reading all of these wonderful books and exploring all these ideas, we definitely want there to be an atmosphere and discussion in this, the upper school classroom, where we're going to be great listeners and consider carefully, or it's just a safe place for students to wrestle with their questions and have easy discussion and not being worried about saying the right thing or the wrong thing. And the last one is providing friendship and encouragement for both parents and children. So we want this to be a place where our students can come and have friends, but also where the parents can. We see this as a ministry to both the parents and the students. And then next, there is, when someone asks what is classical education, it can actually be difficult to boil it down to the essentials. Because depending on who you're talking with about this, they come at it from different angles. And so these are just a few definitions for classical education. I'm not going to read these here. I'm not going over here these now. We see these and ideas like this as opportunities when we can have like teacher training for us to all discuss and have ideas and grow deeper in our understanding of classical education. So those are just for you to think about. The next paper in our thing is our faith statement. So we definitely are wanting to be a Christian co-op, and this is our faith statement. It's essentially the Nicene Creed that the church has, accepted for many years. And so I'll just let you read that on your own. We're not going to read that out loud. But if you do have any questions about that, please come and talk to us at any time. And then finally, we will get to our academic overview. And this is what we're going to go. This is more of our talking points to explain, the nuts and bolts of our co-op. So first of all, to talk about our name, Kairos Christian Classical. The word Kairos is an ancient Greek word, and it has the meaning of the right, critical, or opportune moment or time for action. And we just thought that was a fun name for our co-op, because we do think that this is an opportune time to be homeschooling our children and to be giving them a classical Christian education. And so not only do we want to seek to do that in our co-op, but we also want this co-op to provide flexibility for us to still while being involved in a group setting, but still tailor things to our individual student and let their education be the opportune time for them as well. And so as you'll see when we go on, like none of our classes will be compulsory. Nothing will be all or nothing. Like you can sign your student up for all of the classes for their age group, or you can choose for them to participate in only some of them. It'll be, you'll be able to pick and choose. Okay, so moving on to point number one. Our plan is to meet on Tuesdays here at this location and for 28 weeks. And we will be offering academic, elective, and extracurricular classes for our grammar school, which is K4 through 6, as well as for our upper school, which is 7 through 12. We have this idea out here, which we haven't gotten the details worked out with the church yet, but we have this idea to also offer a second day on Thursdays. This would be optional for high school students. We may include 7th and 8th graders if there's interest amongst the families. We'll just need to see. But the second day for high school students would be from like 9:30 to 1 on Thursdays, and it would most likely be a study hall with a lunch, but it's an opportunity for older students to, get out of the house and see their friends and be with their friends. We might do some other tutoring depending on who is teaching our high school classes, and if they want to do a little bit of extra tutoring or study hall on that Thursday morning. We're just going to have to see how that plays out with the specific classes. But this is an idea that we would really like to implement. And even if for some reason this facility is not available on Thursday mornings, I would be interested in seeing if we could find a different facility for this second day study hall. So we'll just have to be in touch with that as we find out. But okay, so the overall goal of these courses will be to provide academic excellence solidly rooted in a Christ-centered worldview, and to help upper school students use logic, reason, and gracious conversation as they study all subjects. Our courses that we'll offer can either be 2 semester, a whole year, 1 semester, or even 1 quarter in length. And although we desire to offer a full course of classes, especially for older students, parents and students may choose which classes they would like to take. None of the classes will be compulsory. If your student, we are going to offer Latin, but if your student really doesn't want to take Latin, then they don't have to. That's just an example. But also, our community is going to be a cooperative model rather than a tuition-based model. So all parents will volunteer to either teach, co-teach, be an assistant teach, or there will be some opportunities for a few parents to have other roles, like maybe facility cleanup or lunchroom cleanup, but everyone will have their roles that they're contributing to the group, rather than us collecting tuition and paying certain teachers to teach. But we will still have a registration fee of $130, which is 100 of that is for the facility. And then 30 of that is just for us to have like insurance policy and stuff like that. And then for the lower school students, they will still have a supply fee of $60 per student for the whole year for the various classes, which you'll be hearing about the details of those in a few moments. And the upper school students, each individual teacher will also collect a supply fee. For most of the classes, I imagine that just to be for paper and ink, and it would probably be like $10 to $20. But for the science lab classes, or we're hoping to offer an art elective. So for the art classes or the science classes, the fee for those, may be more. But those will just be collected and given to the individual teachers as we come up with the schedule and all of that. Registration is going to take place this month and through the end of March. And we're going to do it online through a jot form. And so everyone who has attended a vision meeting here, or if they weren't able to come tonight, has had a discussion with anyone on leadership, then we can give them the link to the jot form and they can register through there. We would like to collect a registration fee by the end of March, but supply fees are not going to be due until July. And like Katie said, if you know anybody who is interested, we definitely, especially if they have older students, spread the word, but we do want to have a conversation with them, share the vision with them before we give them the link to the jot form. So don't just give your friends the registration link without putting them in touch with us first. And then there will still be books to purchase. So there's not going to be tuition, but there will be books to purchase, and we'll be going into all that. And now we are going to move on and talk about our nursery and preschool and our grammar school stuff. So I'm going to pass this off to Katie, Shelley, and Kelly were the 3 that did all of the legwork for the grammar school classes. So I'm going to pass this off to them.
Thank you. I'm just going to kind of tell you where we were with the lower school and why we where our heart was on why we wanted to start it. But the biggest thing is that we want our community to be more of a family, and we want some flexibility within that. So if our kids are just loving art and they're going at art, we don't want to have to feel the rush of jumping to the next subject because it's on our schedule. We want to be able to dive deeper. We also want to help moms take some load off of us at home. Like, I always have this dream of, I'm going to dive deeper into the history sentence, and then I never do it when we get home. So we want to do that here, and we want to implement our science and our art to go along with history, if it's applicable. Our hearts are that we have prayed over this. We have made hard decisions when we were choosing the curriculum. I think we tried to talk ourselves out of it a couple times and say, well, we went through all the reasons why we shouldn't do something, And then one of the husbands, Kelly's husband, was like, you guys do know that you've already decided you're going to go this direction, right? And so I think it's good and important that we were going back and forth and thinking about, positive and negative to all this. So anyway, that is our heart. That is why we're looking at doing this. There's been a lot of thought and research that's gone into it. And I guess that's it.
Okay, so I am going to first address nursery and preschool. That's number 4 on your academic overview. So to begin with, this is a co-op based model. So everybody has a role to play. So we are looking for volunteers who want to help coordinate. I'm not necessarily saying run the nursery or / preschool program, but someone who might be interested in coordinating those workers. We have thought and prayed and discussed and weighed options, and this will be our one paid position within our community, because we truly feel like for most moms, the nursery is a make or break. And we have an amazing nursery worker currently, and I have spent time talking with her, and she is pretty much game to come with us whatever we decide to do. With that being said, she could put, just depending on how many kids end up in our nursery, she could have an assistant. There could be a potential preschool program that goes along with it, where the younger children, like babies 1, 2, are just kind of having fun. And then ages like 2, 3 could do a preschool program. But we're looking for someone to help facilitate that, so that that doesn't all fall on our nursery worker. So just FYI. Then grammar school academics will use the Claritas Memory Work Guide as a spine for our curriculum. And you guys Kelly's going to go over some curriculum in a little while, and all of that will be available for you to put your hands on and look through today. The morning will be spent in science classes, history and geography classes, and language arts grammar classes. So we're thinking of 45 minutes to an hour for history, 45 minutes to an hour for science, 45 minutes to an hour for English grammar. Not the writing program, just the grammar part. The history geography classes will use Story of the World textbooks to flesh out the memory work sentences and will provide hands-on activities. The science classes will flesh out the Claritas science facts using God's design for science books. If you're not familiar with those, if you are familiar with Answers in Genesis, this is their curriculum, their science curriculum. And the same people who created the Ark and what's the other museum? Creation Museum. Thank you. The purpose is to provide experiments and hands-on activities. Art instruction will be incorporated into the science and history classes several times each semester. Kelly is leading art. I know that's why you're all here, because Kelly is going to do art. So, yes, then we will also do public speaking. We're not thinking that it's going to be an every week thing for every student. We want to give them time to prepare their speeches, to research their speeches, and then bring them in and deliver them without the pressure of it being weekly. So, yeah, that's it. Now, upper school academics.
Yes, great. Okay, just a brief overview of some of the things with the upper school academics is that we do want to provide transcript-worthy classes with the accountability of an adult mentor to partner with the parents. The high school classes, science classes, will be hands-on, helping parents cover the labs and the experiments necessary for the classes. We are not going to offer math classes for the upper school at our co-op. There will be some opportunities for study hall, and if students want to, depending on which classes they're taking, and if they're taking Latin, there will be an opportunity for students to just bring their math book and work on a math lesson during the study hall. But students are just at so different levels, and math just really builds on each other that we've decided we're just not, and it's hard, you can't teach 5 weeks worth of math lessons in 1 hour once a week. So we've just decided that we are just not going to offer math as a part of the co-op. And let's see, okay, so each course is going to have a syllabus. Each course will have a detailed syllabus that our plan is to start assigning teachers, like when registration closes in March, we'll figure out who's teaching what in April. And I'll be working with those upper school people to create the syllabuses. And we'd like to have those by the middle of June so that everyone will have their syllabus and they can look ahead for parents if they want to. And those will be detailed. So you'll know going into the year what types of, what books they're going to be reading, what their pacing will be, and all of that. If you want to pre-read books or prep anything during the summer, just as a parent. Okay, courses will follow a classical scope and sequence, seeking to instill the skills of grammar, dialectic, and rhetoric. We're going to use, high quality literature books, which we have all of the books here. So we still want the classes, to be lots of discussion and a time for students to ask their questions. And in addition, though, to the discussions, we do plan on our classes incorporating written assignments, individual and group projects, informal debates, and public speaking opportunities. Ideally, again, classes at Kairos will seek to find the ideal balance between challenging students and their academics without overwhelming their schedules. This will allow students to personalize their education and to have time to pursue their own unique interests. And as their interests are growing in high school, we would like for high schoolers to have time to pursue those as well. And also to have time, we do envision students being able to, high school students I'm talking about, be involved in our co-op, but then also experiment with other homeschooling classes that maybe are at the community college and do provide credit. There is a different experience with having a class that, where you are going to get a grade and it is going to be a college class. And so, sophomores, juniors, and seniors might like to take 1 or 2 classes somewhere else, at either online with an expert teacher in some field that they're really interested in, or at the community college to have that experience. But then you don't typically have your community and your friends through that type of experience. A high schooler doesn't. So we see the opportunity for it to have a hybrid where within our co-op, they can come to on Tuesday, they can have a base for friendships and face-to-face discussions, if that makes sense. And if you guys have questions at the end, you can ask any questions. Okay, let's see here. So formal debate and speech opportunities, we would like to offer those, but we envision them as electives rather than being incorporated into all of the other all of the other classes. And although teachers will provide progress reports, parents are still going to be responsible for the grading. And teachers may give written feedback on speeches, on a presentation they give in class or on a paper as they're able to, but still parents will be responsible for the grades. And in addition to our core classes, our upper school would like to offer several electives or extracurricular classes each year. So this will give an opportunity for gifted parents or grandparents to provide classes or clubs of interest. So one thing that we have already mentioned is that Kelly Stout is already planning to offer an introduction to art class for 7th through 12th grade for the fall semester at our co-op. And then she is open to offering a specific art class 2nd semester as well, but she just wants to see what the interest is. Like, does someone want to do painting, or I don't know what all the options would be, drawing, or she has an art degree, for those of you who may not know her and are wondering about that. But so that is one opportunity that we already have in place. But we would also love to see things like yearbook being offered, or PE, or mock trial, speech and debate. We've already mentioned home economics, first aid, photography, senior thesis, knitting, crochet, whittling, choir. I mean, those are just a few ideas. This would basically be driven by the parents who are involved. Is there a class that you would be excited to teach? Or our 7th and 8th graders or our high schoolers that you would be interested in offering. And so this would rotate and be different from semester to semester. And just as an opportunity for people who might be really interested in this, we would like to see our co-op do a mock trial. We're not planning to do that for this coming upschooling year, for this coming school year, because it's going to be quite involved to get the case and all of that. But we would love to plan to offer it a year from now, like the fall, and open it up for 8th through 12th graders. And hopefully we would have enough students who want to do mock trial that we could create 2 teams just from our community who could do the mock trial together. And so that is our plan for those who might be interested. We also would like to experiment this year and see how we like it. This idea of 2 one-week condensed classes. So we're meeting for just 28 weeks, our co-op, but for a week before each semester in August and in January, we would love to do like an intensive class for high schoolers, maybe 7th and 8th, we'll have to see, where they would just meet for 5 or 6 hours for 5 days in a row and just do like an intensive 1-week class together. We think that would be neat to expose them to some things, but not like free them up from having that during the regular school year. And that also it would be fun for the students just to get to spend a lot of time together before the semester starts. It would be a great opportunity for students to really get to know each other if they're together for 5 days in a row for 6 hours, at the beginning of each semester. So of course those would be optional. It would always be optional if a student didn't like what the topic was. They wouldn't have to do that 1-week course that semester. Okay, and hold on, sorry, I have a paper out of order, I think. There's my point number 9. Uh-oh, here, so sorry. Okay, thank you. I was like, I'm missing my point number 9. Okay, and then we also do plan on offering teacher training sessions throughout the year. There will be one mandatory during the summer where we will all come together, and then we'll also have an orientation. But we would like to have quarterly opportunities for parents, mostly moms, but dads can be invited as well, to just go deeper in our understanding of classical education. If we're all going to be the ones teaching our students, we would love to just continue to grow our own knowledge of classical education. So those will be out there. And we've already introduced our leadership team, which is number 10. So those are all of our emails on there. And now we just wanted to go a little bit more into detail about a few of the curriculum choices. So we'll go with the grammar school and I'll pass it off to you guys.
Come up, Vanna. Okay, so as Shelley already kind of said to you, we made a lot of hard decisions, and this was probably our hardest decision as a group, was to come up with what we wanted to use as a spine. And so we spent a lot of time praying over this, a lot of time debating, and this is a choice that we are extremely excited about, and we hope that you will be too. It is called Claritas Publishing, and they have a memory work system that goes through lots of subjects. I'm gonna open it up. You can come up and see this yourself, but it has science, math, Latin, English, timeline, geography, Bible verses, and a hymn every week. And it is laid out here. And what they have done at Claritas is matched up their history exactly with Story of the World already. And so it is 28 weeks that follows exactly through the first book of Story of the World. And if you know, history curriculums are almost all 4-year cycles. And so matching that up to this is a 4-year program. So this is the cycle 1. And when you buy the memory book for cycle 1, it is only cycle 1. So this is a 1-year commitment to this book. And then you can use it again when you rotate back to cycle 1, but cycle 2, 3, and 4 are not in this book. So this is cycle 1, and it matches up with Story of the World, which many of you have already seen, but we have a copy of the first book, which is the one we will be using. And you can get this book relatively inexpensively, but you can see all the prices on the price list that's in there as well. So the history matches up, and then we have chosen God's Design for Life, which Katie will bring up. This is their Life series, which is 3 books. So all 3 books will be gone over through the course of the year. And we have chosen the lessons. I have This document will be available up on the table when the meeting is over, and I have 25 copies. I just didn't want to hand them out because some of you are for older students who may not need them. But there is a list of every book and every chapter that we will cover every week of the 28 weeks. It has the science, the story of the world, and when we will be teaching art. Our art will be intertwined. So for example, 3 weeks in a row, instead of doing science class, we're going to do art, but it is based on the science lesson of the day. And then 3 weeks during that semester, we will do art history during history, but it is based on the history sentence of the day. So you can get the point there, right? So we do that both semesters, and so we get 12 weeks worth of art while teaching science and history. And they have a million amount of extras, okay? So those are the required things that you would need to buy. And then Claritas has amazing extra resources that you can purchase, and we have those up here as well. This is a map booklet, which gives you a map with the spots listed that you're going to be studying, and then a map without them so that you can practice with your students. They have a timeline. The timeline is amazing. It not only has the history of the secular world, but within it is just so many of our Bible stories that we know, but put where they belong in terms of what is happening around the world. So you might see, for example, the Sodom and Gomorrah is put around the time of Sargon the Great, and then after that is the Middle Kingdom in Egypt. So you could see when these, and then so Joseph as a slave was during that time, and it really incorporates our history as a Christian people into the history of the world, which is an amazing resource. They also have handwriting sheets that go through each of the pages, and you can buy them in cursive or print. They have cards that are printed like this that you can cut apart, or memory work cards. They have songs for every subject, and those songs are available on DVD or download, and CD or download. And they also have a Roku channel that you can purchase into that is listed on the sheet that you have available as well. That they have little videos of kids putting on certain things about each subject. They have their songs. They have all these things that you can purchase into there, and there are discounts for certain different families. So you want to look at the page for that. I'm not going to go into all of that, but they are a wonderful company who has been wonderful to us in this process, and they are willing to give discounts for groups of 15 families or more. So once we know how many families we have, we can get up to a 15% discount. And it's very reasonably priced. You can check out all of their prices. And when you purchase in, like I said, you're really only purchasing 1 year's worth of material. So it's not a long-term. We all like to say, ooh, I'm a little scared about long-term here, but this is a 1-year thing, and we're going to see how it works. And we have fallen in love with everything up here, and we hope that you will too. Anything to add? Oh, I didn't talk about grammar. Grammar's at the end of the table. The grammar program is written by the same company. They have their level 1, 2, and then they don't call it level 3. It's just their fundamental grammar class, but it's kind of the third step. So level 1 would start you in like 2nd grade or 3rd grade, depending on when you want to start. This is all up to you. As a parent, you can put your kid in whatever level you think that they will fit into best. But it goes through, and they're already written into 28-week lessons. So the lesson would be completed during our class period, and then they would have work to do at home. Level 2 then would be somewhere around 3rd to 4th, even 5th, if they're not ready to go on yet. It's totally up to you. And then the fundamental grammar class has a book that teaches the fundamental grammar in 28 weeks. And this would be anybody that signs up for this course, which is considered like upper level 4th grade through 6th grade. And you need one of these per family. So if you have 2 kids in that period, you can buy 1 book for that. But you would need 2 of the workbook. So you can come up and see all of these materials. And if you have any questions at all, come and see one of us. We will answer those questions. But their website is very efficient as well. So you can learn so much more. Claritas Publishing. So check it out then. What? Oh, yes. And we're going to be doing IEW for composition. And I don't think I need to talk about that very much. You kind of are all familiar with that. So we'll have the lower level and the upper level, depending on interest and who wants to sign up for what. We will have all of that available as well. Yes, in the afternoon. So if you want to go home at lunch, you have that option as well.
So the grammar will be in the morning.
The grammar is in the morning, the composition is in the afternoon. We decided composition is a little bit more unsure of if you want your kid to be in it. We just wanted to give people options, and grammar is, everybody can do that, maybe composition they're not ready for, so if you wanted to go home, you would have that option.
Do you want to say like how much work? You said that there's work at home for the grammar. Is it just the one page?
Oh yeah, it's not very much at work at home. Most of the grammar will be taught, but you'll want to kind of follow along at home. I mean, so you can learn that. But the fundamental grammar will be a little bit more work at home when they get to the 4th through 6th grade level.
And do you want to say about
Okay, and 4-year-olds, if you have a 4-year-old, we're going to allow you to choose whether you would like them to be in preschool or in the class with the 5-year-olds. And we're going to split up our classes based on like K4 and 5 and kindergarten, and be in one class, and then like 1st and 2nd, 3rd through, we're going to kind of space them out. But if you want your little ones to be in the nursery instead, that's your decision. So we're going to leave that up to you on age breakup and placements in grammar and composition, because you know your kids better than grade level, right? We're homeschooled. Who knows what grade they're in? So I know. So okay. Yes.
So would this be 8 to 12 in the morning, like 8 in the morning to 12?
Thank you for saying that. So the question for at home is that what time will this be offered? We're going to begin at 8:45. Everybody together, K through 12, for 15 minutes for hymn and a Bible verse and a little time to just reflect on God for a few minutes. Then we'll start our day at 9 o'clock, and we will go until noon, and then we will have lunch for an hour, and then we will have classes from 1 until 3:30, I believe, right?
Yeah, we don't have the high school totally.
We don't have it all worked out yet, but that's about what we're seeing. And we will have lower school or grammar school options the whole time, so that if you want to stay or have your kids stay because they're in the upper school, we will have classes the whole time during that option. Okay. Anything else about the grammar school curriculum before I hand it off? You can ask more questions later too. Yes.
Are you still doing memory master type?
Oh, they have in the front of this book, they have a program for people memorizing everything. It's laid out in there, but we will offer, and they encourage you to offer awards for subject mastery. So if it's one subject, another subject, whatever, or the whole thing, which is quite extensive because we're talking about scripture and hymns are included in that, because they're very particular about including the Bible, which we were like, yeah, okay. So that was one thing that we really wanted to encourage as well. And so we were really focused on that. So yes, somehow, some way, not sure how that's gonna work, but we will. Okay, you can ask more questions later.
One more thing I was going to say, as far as the grammar program goes, Kelly had mentioned 2nd to, your kids. So 2nd to 3rd grade, if you feel like they're ready for that grammar program, absolutely, let's move forward. But if they're not there yet, even with our 4 and 5-year-olds, our 4-year-olds and kindergartners, 1st and 2nd graders, there will be programs offered during that time block for grammar and language arts for them, whether it's handwriting, phonics, whatever that teacher chooses for that class. And that will be no additional cost, but that they will do, it can be handwriting, it can be phonics skills, it can be story time, read aloud. We want to make sure that each level is being offered something while you're here, so that no one's just sitting around with nothing to do. So the grammar program formally can start at 2nd grade, but if you feel like your child is ready or your child is not ready, that is entirely up to you as the parent. Just because they fall within that age gap doesn't mean that they have to take the classes offered. Leah.
In the afternoon, during the composition portion of the day, is there anything offered to younger kids who are not ready for that?
So we were asked in the afternoon during the composition part of the day if there will be offerings for younger siblings or just kids who might not be ready for composition. And yes, there will be, we're not 100% sure what all those offerings will be yet. And again, it might depend on who feels called to teach in that afternoon and what you would like to teach. Math games has been something that we have really been discussing, math games / Latin for a block in the afternoons. If you feel, I know some people who would excel in that role. So that was one that was definite. Were there?
We talked about just a read aloud time as well.
Right, a read aloud time. We had discussed PE for the younger kids in the afternoon. Again, this is a co-op model. So whatever ideas you have, we want to hear them and we want to make it happen. So if this is what God has placed on your heart, bring it up. Bring it up.
Okay, and so then our last big section is going to be talking about the dialectic and rhetoric, which is what we're calling our 7th through 12th graders. And then we'll be done, and you guys can come up and look at the books or ask individual questions. But I do need to add one more thing that isn't written on here that I just thought of when you guys were thinking, is that as we do registration in February and March, then we will be talking to all of the individual parents who will be attending on co-op and asking, well, the registration form is going to ask you, what are the different things that you would be most excited to teach? And then we envision having conversations with all of the parents about what are their top things they would like to teach. And our hope is, that everyone is going to be able to teach something that they're really excited about. And everyone won't be necessarily teaching the same number of classes. Sometimes you'll be an assistant teacher. We envision 1 to 4 classes, but we do envision no parent having to teach all day. Like, for the upper school, that would be like in 6 classes, but that all parents will have some times where they don't have a teaching responsibility, where they can just be free to chat with other parents or go sit in their other kids' classroom, or just you won't have a responsibility all day, but you will have some throughout the day. And we hope that it could be something you're excited about. So,
Ginger, would you still expect parents to be on campus all day?
Well, for grammar school students, yes. We have talked about for upper school students, if your students are all upper school and you are teaching 1 or 2 classes, you do not necessarily have to stay on campus all day. So, but if you have a grammar school student, then you do. Yeah, great question. Okay, so dialectic and rhetoric. If you look on, I'm looking at this sheet, but if you look on the back, it has kind of the scope and or I think yours aren't back to back. Sorry, yours are all individual. But if you look at this one, it has the scope and sequence for dialectic A and B, which is roughly 7th and 8th grade, and then rhetoric 1, 2, 3, and 4, which is roughly 9th through 12th grade. And so this is kind of what we envision in terms of the academic classes, not the extracurricular, because those are going to be rotating, that we would see for, a student for all 6 years in the upper school. But this year, if you look at the other one that's in front of that, we do not plan on offering every single one of those this year because, this being our first year, we weren't really sure how many of each of the levels of 7th through 12th that we would have. And so we have come up with a plan to, for some of the classes to group like 7th and 8th together, for 9th and 10th together, and 11th and 12th together. And to offer, and so they're not going to be together for everything, and that's what will go in here, because some of them we were just like, no, those have to be separate. But for some of the classes, they're going to be together so that we don't have to have as many teachers and as many students this first year. But we have it all laid out so that students will, make sure that they get everything they need before they graduate. So this coming year, what we are planning on offering is our 1-week condensed course in August. We're planning for that to be a speech course. And our 1-week condensed class in January, we're planning for that to be debate, specifically the Lincoln Douglas style debate. So we'll be working on that one in that 1-week class. Latin. We want to offer Latin using the Memoria Press form series. So They teach first, second, third, and fourth form. And we would like to offer all 4 classes if we need that. We have a lot of families that we already know who are going to be involved who have been using the forum series. And so we definitely anticipate that we would have a need to offer first form, second form, and fourth form. I'll be teaching fourth form. My daughters will be ready in for that. But I don't know yet. It depends on who's involved if we'll be offering third form this year. So you're just going to have to let us know because I know there are some people who have been using the forum series. So not sure if we'll offer that one this year, but I have all of those up here. And if anybody has been doing Latin, just as a side note, if they've been doing Latin and they've been using the Henley book, if you have done like the first 14 or 15 lessons in Henley and you have done well and you understand that, you can very easily jump into the second form Latin series. So I have gone back and forth between both of those, and I'm very familiar with both of them. And so I plan on having a little, I don't know if it'll be a Zoom meeting or what, but just meeting with the parents who need to know this information for about an hour at some point, probably in April or May. And I can give you a few tips on just the few things that your student will need to know if they're going to be jumping from Henley directly into second form. You just need to know just a few things, so I can help that transition be very easy. Beyond that, transitioning into third or fourth form, if you haven't been using it, I think would be hard. But if you have started Latin, you could definitely skip first form into second. And then after that, just as next year we'll just have the 4 form series, but we do have some options for offering some Latin translation classes if, as the years go on, we have students who have finished 4th form and then are ready to jump into actually like just reading some things that were in Latin and doing translation. We do have some ideas for that coming. It's just we know that we aren't going to need that this coming year, so we haven't delved into all of that. Okay, and then Tori is going to come up and tell us a little bit more about the specific choices for dialectic A and B.
All right, so our dialectic school will be our 7th and 8th graders, and this coming year, we see most of them being together. We have put together the curriculum in a way that we can do almost like a cycle through them so that everybody gets through this open sequence that we have laid out separate for 7th and 8th grade. Because we have current 7th graders who will have done some things that the 7th graders next year will jump in with 8th graders, and then they would do the other stuff the next year. It's not a difficulty level thing, it's just different topics. So the way our dialectic school is slightly different than the rhetoric or even the grammar school is we do not use quite so many textbooks. We're a lot more skill-based. History, we'll be reading about American historical characters. We'll be spending a lot more time asking questions, analyzing their choices, their lives. We will be doing informal debate for a semester. There will be no books with that. The kids will come to class. We will have fun, relatable issues, and they will take skills that they've learned using lost tools and other things, and they will develop debates in class every week. So they'll be working on listening skills, public speaking skills, just so many different skills there, and we can answer those questions later about each specific class. Also, the sciences don't have as much of a textbook style. One semester we'll be researching and doing projects and writing projects on astronomy, and the other semester will be studying creation versus evolution. And we have a book chosen for that, and I have a lot of teacher resources as well to supplement that stuff. The one area that we would be separating 7th and 8th grade will be for logic. That is more of a scope and sequence that builds on itself. 7th graders would be having 1 semester of fallacies using the fallacy detective. And the 8th graders would be having a 1-year-long class of introductory logic before they would move into intermediate logic their freshman year. So That's it.
Okay, and then looking at Rhetoric 1, which is roughly 9th grade, I'll have Wendy do the American literature and history in just a moment, and I'll just say here about the physical science or the biology. We have physical science as, you know, in the general scope and sequence, but next year we're thinking that we're just going to offer biology, and we're going to have the 9th and 10th graders together. And I will let for biology, and then the following year, the students who haven't had physical science can do that before they move on to chemistry. And in just a moment, Paula will tell us a little bit more about the science, but I also just highlight here that we also plan on having the 9th and 10th graders together for a logic class one semester. We're planning on using the art of argument and doing that in one semester with 9th and 10th together. And then also having a philosophy class where we will read 2 books together, The Best Things in Life by Peter Kreeft, as well as a Socratic dialogue by Plato. And we haven't decided exactly which one yet, but we envision the 9th and 10th graders being together for that. So now I'll let Wendy come up and tell us about the 9th grade literature and history, which we have separate from the 10th graders.
Yeah, so there's a history and literature is one that we said we just really didn't feel like we could put 9th and 10th grade together just because of what they were researching and reading and which ones had what already or needing different ones. So American literature, we're using Lost Tools of Writing, which I know a lot of you are familiar with. We're going to keep that. And then we have literature, lots of living books and things that they will be reading that's going to follow along with the American history. Because 9th graders are doing the American history. So for history, we're going to use Knotgrass, and we've done a lot of research there and decided to switch to Knotgrass, and I think we've all fallen in love with it. Like, I'm sitting at home reading the books. So, which I love history anyway, so I've just really been delving into the books. I like them. In the history program that Knotgrass offers, so just to give you a little background on Knotgrass, their history class actually offers 3 high school credits. So it's history, English, and Bible. And you can use all or none, mix and match on how you do that. So we're specifically using it for the history strand. We're not using it for the English strand because we have chosen some of the books that they're using and some that we've pulled that they're not using in that. So we do have our own literature with that. However, the history curriculum does offer for each unit or chapter, there's 30 units, so we're going to squish 2 of those so we can get in 28. But it offers optional projects for each unit. And one of those is always a paper. And then there's like crafty type projects, build a model, or one of them is like creative video, advertising. There's all kinds that are offered with the units. Those are always optional. The textbook does suggest that you do those along with the class, but again, you're the parent, you're the teacher, so you know what your student needs. They do suggest that you pick at least 6 papers. However, that is also in line with using it as an English credit, so you can kind of vary there how you do. There is a Bible study that goes along with it that is optional. So at the end of each unit, there is a Bible study. Along with the textbook, we read a lot of original documents. So some of those could be constitutional, some of those could be original writings of different authors or different people in history. And so each week we will read along. It comes with the curriculum. They have a separate book that is just the original writings. And so that will intertwine within the history unit that we do. So we answered everything I need. All right.
Okay, and so then moving on to the rhetoric 2, the 10th grade. The 10th graders, like I said, will be in science with the 9th graders in logic, but they are going to study British literature, and they will not be using lost tools anymore. So although they'll be using lost tools of writing in 7th, 8th, and 9th, in 10th grade, we will not be officially using it, but we do hope to then help the students learn how to write different, because lost tools, for those of you who don't know, teaches a persuasive essay. So in 10th grade, we plan to help the students transition to writing other types of essays but still incorporating all of the tools they have been working on in Lost Tools of Writing for the 3 years prior to that. And so the British literature books we've chosen are up here. And then 10th, 11th, and 12th, we'll be doing world history, also by Knotgrass. So all of the things that Wendy just said about the American history are true of their world history. And we are going to have 10th, 11th, and 12th all together for that class this coming year. And then the 10th, and I've already said the logic and the art. So that is all of 10th grade, but I will stop and let Paula come up and tell us about our science. You can go ahead and talk about that, 11th grade science too.
All right. Guess I'm the science geek here. Are there any other science people here? Raise your hand. These books I really like. They are 28 weeks, which I didn't pick them because they have 28 weeks, but they are written by this Dr. England who has taught all sciences for like 30 years. And to me, they are much more doable for I would think the majority of students. And there's a lab there's a lab every week. Now we may not end up doing a lab every week depending on what it is, but the main thing about science, if you're doing your transcripts, you want to have the science, biology, chemistry, physics, whatever, with a lab on your transcript, because that's what you need if you're going into science. So probably most of the time in class will be for the lab. I mean, if we have some time, hopefully we'll talk about things if there's questions and that kind of thing. But it is mainly for the lab. So this year we'll be doing biology for 10th, and chemistry will be 11th and 12th. No.
Some of the
Yeah,
some of the
it's
12th
gonna
graders we
vary,
know are
yeah.
probably not going to do science.
Right. So it's just going to depend on who all's here. I also like the teacher's guide because, and it just depends. I know some people don't like quizzes and papers, but if you do, and I like them for grades. So this has a worksheet for each lesson and a quiz at the end. And then it has an exam every 3 to 5 weeks. So if you liked it, great. If you don't, then you don't have to get this. But I think they're both really good sets from what I've seen so far. And they're like $55, a little under $55 each set at Rainbow Resources. So, and it is from a Christian worldview also. So.
Awesome. Okay, and then our last group is our rhetoric, 11th and 12th grade. We do plan to group them together, and it's with it being geared towards the 12th graders, because we have a couple students that are planning to be involved that only need those 12th grade classes. And so then, the 11th grade student would rotate the following year and do what was typically for 11th grade. And so that would be ancient literature with writing instruction. We haven't decided exactly which book the writing instruction would be, but the world history, 12th graders would be taking world history along with the 10th graders. Chemistry, the students that we have that we know that are planning to be involved, that are going to be 12th graders, already have 3 sciences, physical, biology, and chemistry, and they don't want to take a 4th. A lot of times you don't have to have a 4th. And so right now for this coming year, we don't have any other sciences planned. Now that could change if we get some more seniors who want that, but in future years, we do plan on offering some different. Physics is something that a lot of seniors take, but some students don't want physics. They want to do anatomy or physiology. And so, we will look into offering some of those, as our students get older and as we need them. And then finally, they'll be doing theology this year, which is reading the Old Testament, and then 2 books, The Mere Christianity and Jesus Among Other Gods. Wow, there's a lot of information. Okay, I think we have gone through all of it. We included our calendar that we are planning on with our dates on here. We don't have an exact schedule for our day yet because we haven't worked that all out with exactly electives, but we have decided that we do plan on starting at 8:45, which someone already mentioned. And So I think that is everything. Does anyone have any questions? We're all gonna stay here and come up and look at all the books and we can answer individual questions. But does anybody else have any questions that they think, everyone might benefit from hearing the answer that they want to ask? Yes. Okay. And then I'll let Kelly, yes.
So I know she has some question already on this. What if there's like a sickness and some of the, I let them get that to stay home or something like that, it's contagious.
Right.
Can you send your older kids or a guardian that sign them over to somebody else?
Yes. Yes, you will be able to do that. And if your kids are younger, then we would like you to have a plan with, this is the person that's going to be the go-to adult for my children since I can't come because I have a sick child at home. I think we didn't talk about that explicitly, but that's what, yeah, that will be the plan. So we'll just want to have, communication about that so we know what's going on. Yeah. Yes.
Do you have set teachers for all of the subjects currently as far as the more core things that you're talking about, especially
For the upper school?
Yeah.
We don't have everything set. Now we have, the four of us right here have had experience over the last 2 to 6 years teaching 7th through 12th grade classes. So the four of us have talked about which ones are the different ones that we're interested in teaching. And so a good majority of these are covered, but not every single one. We also do already have our hopes and our sights on some other people who are here who we know have had experience teaching 7th through 12th, that it's like we're ready to just recruit them as soon as they commit that they want to do this. So we have a lot of prospects. We're not going to just be starting from scratch with all these classes with all these people who've never taught high school and have never taught any of these classes. So we, Paula and I both have gone and homeschooled 7th through 12th, and our oldest are graduating. So we've taught a lot of these. And so we're thankful for that. Does that answer your question?
Yeah. And how about for grammar level, like for your Claritas program?
Yes, and so the question is like, do we have it assigned who's teaching what?
I think on our dot form, we have interest in what they want to teach, right?
Yes.
Yeah.
To ask the
So
parents. She asked me if we
on-
already had it
yeah.
lined up. Who was teaching?
No, we don't have anything lined up for certain.
Well, except.
Other than Kelly doing art.
Kelly's doing
Well,
art.
okay, I'm teaching art, but the rest of the day is still in limbo. But that's only because we want you guys to do it. So, I mean, we're gonna do it too, but the point is to get people doing what they're capable and wanting to do. So that works into that. So it is on the registration though, of what areas you think you would be good at teaching or have interest in. So that would be something.
And I will just add to that, we do have a lot of interest from families who have been tutoring in our classical co-op now. And we would envision, like if there's someone who's brand new, who is like, we're feeling really unsure, that they would be like an assistant teacher the first year is what, our goal is. Of course, we're going to have to get this all covered and worked out, but that's what our goal would be.
I forgot to mention that in this packet up here for anybody for the grammar school, that if you want to take this packet where it lines up everything, we've also made copies of one example, week 11's memory work is condensed here. And then the history for Story of the World is included there, minimized, so you can see how it works together. And then the pages that they'll do and the chapters in science that are related to that. So that 1 week, you have an example of how it fits together. Because we want you to understand that we're not really working on the memory work in our co-op. We're teaching the stuff about the memory work because we feel that the memory work is capable at home. So you will do we will go over the memory work in class, but really our purpose is doing the hands-on things to accentuate that stuff. So that's the purpose of the co-op, and you can have that in this packet.
Okay, and then Wendy looked on there and we have a Zoom question. This is so funny to be doing Zoom and in person. But someone on Zoom evidently has asked, will this high school level stuff cover all the credits that students need to graduate? And so, yes, the main core classes that you need to graduate from high school and be prepared for college, we are planning on offering. So other than math, we're not going to offer math, and you do need to take math. So other than math, it will cover all of them. And except for, I will say, in North Carolina, to graduate from high school, you need PE and health. And we haven't had plans to add health or PE. Now, we could offer those as electives if someone wants to, but we don't have that in our core scope and sequence, like in assigned to a grade level PE and health. But you are supposed to have both of those to graduate from high school in North Carolina. So hopefully that answered the question. Yeah.
With the math, would you ever consider adding that, like maybe for your teacher, that maybe you haven't decided to say?
I mean, if someone really wanted to make a case and show us how to do it, maybe. I'm not going to say, but the thing is that it's just when you only have 1 hour a week, you know, we're trying to figure out when you only have 1 hour a week, then it's very hard to teach a whole week's worth of math lessons, you know, and so,
The other problem with that is that there are people using different math curriculums. You know, I could probably name 3 off the top of my head that I know people are using in the middle school and high school levels, and so it just doesn't work if they're not. They have
It
to
does. It
commit
gets
to
complicated.
using the same curriculum.
and it's kind of like where I'm thinking right now is like, you know, since we're not going to be tuition based, I do think that, you know, realistically, if you're wanting to homeschool your high school student all the way through high school, my mindset is it's probably not going to be totally free. Like, I'm going to have to put some resources in. So if there are either a few classes that either I just really don't want to teach and be hands-on myself, or some classes that my student loves and is really gifted in and really wants to go deep and would really benefit from an actual, like, someone who is an expert and really knows this material very well, those two scenarios really, to me, seem like great opportunities to pay for an outside class, for an online class with an instructor or a community college or something. And so there are some excellent online math courses that do teach math and that are like meant to teach, that you as the parent can be totally hands-off, and they are pretty expensive. I will say that I've heard a lot of good things, but they're not cheap. But it's like, if you're getting all of your other classes here and this isn't a tuition-based model, then maybe you can spend $700. Like, when I say expensive, I'm like, I think some of them are like $700 for the year for your student to take Algebra 1. But they log on, they're totally taught, they have an expert to answer their questions, they get the grade, all of that. And so if you're not spending any money on our co-op, then maybe you will want to spend, you know, $700 a year for your student to have a lot of in-depth math instruction. If they're not, when you get to the upper level classes, it's like some students do great. Give me the textbook. Let me read and study the textbook on my own. Other students are like, I don't even like math in the first place. Please don't tell me I have to teach myself from the textbook. I really want someone to teach me. And our students are all unique. But I do think that, you know, this mindset of, for my student, there may be some times where I need to pay for a specific class for my student to meet their needs, you know, might be a helpful mindset for us to have. Any other questions? Okay. Anything else that you guys realized we forgot, or? Okay, the one she had looked on there. Okay, Wendy's monitoring that for me. The one about the transcript was on there. If you guys have any more questions, Wendy's gonna read it for us. Oh, yes. And so, like I had said earlier, for the upper school, we will have syllabuses with detailed assignments, and we've already started creating some of those. And so we have some samples up here if you would like to see like what those are like. Was there a question? Okay. Okay. Yes.
For the first week and on each semester that you would use the exhibit,
Yeah.
would that be open to people that are not registered also with the elective days?
We haven't talked about that as a group. The study hall probably wouldn't be open if they're not involved on Tuesdays. Like, to come on Thursdays, if you're not involved on Tuesdays, that would probably not on that. But I could see an opportunity for some upper level students if they just wanted to come and do that week intensive class. Yeah, I could totally see that. We haven't actually talked about that. So I mean, we're not gonna be like highly recruiting, trying to do that. Like, let's get all these people to just take this one class who don't want to. But I mean, I think we could be open to that. If by the end of March, we're wanting people to register and commit by the end of March. They were asking about the registration dates. So we haven't finished creating the JOT form for the registration, but we're planning to finish that this week, and we'll email it out to everybody because you all signed in on the sign up sheet. So if you missed that, then please do sign up there. And so registration will be open within a week, and then we would love for people to register in February and March. Yeah. Yeah, we haven't decided on what our cap should be for the number of students involved. So we are planning on having one, and we will make a decision and put that on our registration form and, just let you guys know. But I mean, this facility is only so big. I mean, we've talked about for the upper school students that, we probably would like it to be somewhere around 12 students for each grade level. Now for this coming year, that might mean that our history class might be larger if we have multiple grades. We'll flex on that, but, I don't know exactly what our grammar school cap will be, but we are gonna decide upon one, and because this building isn't that huge. And also just so we can really get to know each other, so, okay, under 50, okay. We'll be under 50, they're saying, so yes. For the grammar school, for the grammar school. K 4 through 6, yeah.
Everybody sign up that was.
Yes, that is back there if you missed that. Okay, yes.
Hi, just for clarity,
Yes.
so let's say I have two high schools, a junior high school. They take it American history in their ninth grade, and they took world history this year. I
Okay,
do not want them to take world history.
okay.
So I choose to have them take the governing economics at home. So will there be something for the upper grammar students during that time, or will we have like a study hall?
They'll probably have a study hall. They'll probably have a study hall, and that is where it could maybe be awesome for them to bring their math and work on their math during that time. Yeah. Okay, well, if you guys come up and look at the books, and thank you so much for coming. And if you have other questions, please let us know.
Thank you all for joining us. I'm going to end the meeting unless you have any last questions. Oh, some of you are asking for my copied documents up here. Yes, how do we get your guys' email? Did we get a list of that? Did Monica get a list in there? Okay, if you want what I showed that other copy, then make sure that you have put your email on this list over here, chatted it here, or my email is on that list. So I'm Kelly Stout, email me and I will get that out to you. So I can get that to you. And I think, hold on just a second, let me unmute here. I think you can unmute yourself. If you want to unmute, you can unmute. And are you here? Asked to unmute. Marcel, do you have a question? No. Oh, okay. If you want to unmute now, it's your last chance because I'm going to shut this off. Okay. Well, then email me if you want something. Thank you.
I don't know if when you close that.